Welcome back. I'm Nikki Woods, and I am super excited. I don't know. I think I'm even more excited today than I was the last time that I talked to you. But I am super excited about the upcoming Telesummit. So you want to be an author? Now what? I've been talking to some of the speakers, and I mean, it is going to be an amazing 3 days. So I'm really excited that you are along for the journey. And if you have anybody else that you think of who might benefit from this information, then please send them to wannabeanauthor.com and have them register. It can do nothing but benefit them, guaranteed. I mean, it's going to be entertaining as well, because I'm telling you, we got quite a couple characters that are going to be on this Telesummit, but I'm super excited about that, and they are ready to answer your questions, and they are just as fired up as I am, so that's awesome. But last email, I asked for your questions. And man, did you have them. And so that's super exciting, because it just means that you're ready to go to the next level. I mean, the first step was registering and saying, look, I'm interested in being an author. Now what? And then the questions means that you're really being proactive about getting the knowledge that you need. And so that is really, really exciting. So I definitely want to dive in and start answering some of the questions. But I also want to give you some really solid action steps to take that you can start thinking about now and how you're going to do this. So the first question was a really good question from Teresa. What will I write about? Well, Teresa, I don't know. We're going to figure that out. But I want some things that I want you to think about when you're thinking about your subject. We talked a little bit about what makes you an expert, and we talked about life experiences versus education, and why you don't necessarily have to write about what you do. You can write about who you are, or what's happened to you in your life and where you've come. A lot of times people are generating content, great content, on their social media platforms, Facebook. All those inspirational posts that you put, gather them up and put them in a book. I mean, think about your passions. Think about what makes you who you are. Think about what you've learned in your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be just about what you do. You may be a doctor, but you may be really passionate about teaching children how to play golf. Write a book about that. And think about the different genres. Who are you talking to exactly? Do you want to talk to adults? Do you want to just talk to women? Are you talking to kids? Are you talking to preteens? Somebody write a book for the mother of a 13-year-old boy. Please. So just think about who you're talking to and who your audience is and what you want to walk away from. In another writing group that I'm a part of, Asa Laveau, who is a phenomenal author, he posted something, and he posted a question in the group, and it was so amazing. So simple yet so amazing. And what he said was, what is it that you want your reader to walk away with? Pick the biggest takeaway that you want your reader to have once they've read your book, and stay focused on that. Keep that in mind when you're writing your book, and that'll keep you centered on what your messaging should be. So really think about all of the things I bet you got 10 books in you. Just based on who you are, what you've been through in life, and what your unique experience is. Great question, Teresa. Another question, where do you go once it's done? You got your book idea, you've written your book, so where do you go? And there's a myriad of things to think about when you think about where to go once your book is done as far as publishing. You can do mainstream publishing. You can try to pitch it, find an agent, write a query letter, and try to pitch it to a big publisher if that's what you're interested in. You can look at boutique publishers. There's a lot of boutique publishers, whether they specialize in just science fiction or women's literature or poetry or teen literature or inspiration. I mean, there's a myriad of boutique publishers. Shout out to my publisher, Brown Girls Publishing. Two best-selling authors, Rashana Tate Billingsley and Victoria Christopher Murray, decided that they wanted to give voice to authors that may not be discovered otherwise. And so they created their own boutique publisher, and I think it's awesome. And so you have to look at all of that. And then, of course, there's self-publishing and many benefits to self-publishing that we'll talk about. one, you get to keep more of the money. Obviously, you put in all your own money, but then you also get to keep the profit of what you make past, what you've put in. So that's really important. A lot to learn with self-publishing, and that's one of the reasons I decided not to do it. I didn't want to know everything there is to know about publishing. I know it now, but before I didn't know it, and self-publishing is a very viable option for me going forward. But I was super thankful for my publishers and being able to learn from them and how to get a book out. So those are some of the options, and we'll talk about that. A lot of the authors, well, not a lot, but probably half of the authors are self-published that will be with the Telesummit, and they'll be able to give their unique perspective. And the other half were going through, they went through mainstream publishers. So we'll be able to talk to them about their experience as well. So that's really exciting. Do you say, I'll get to it later and look up, and later never knocks on your door? This is a big deal. I mean, writing is work. I would be lying if I said that it wasn't. It's like anything. But writing is also like a muscle. And I think the more you do it, the easier that it gets for you. So I think that's really exciting. But you do have to make a schedule and sit down. And one tip that I give to especially newer writers is that you have to schedule time and do it every day. Because if you don't, then you look up and you're still, you're trying to figure out what you wrote last, and you spend all the time trying to catch up instead of writing. When you do it every day and, set a certain time, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, you don't have to play so much catch up when you sit down to write the next time. The story is fresh and you're able just to continue writing. So that's a big thing. Okay. All right. Cool. So we got another lady who said that she takes care of 3 kids by herself, so it's hard to sit and write. And I agree. I don't know what the age of your children are, but with mine, especially when they were younger, I made it an activity. So I sat to write, they sat to color. Now they're older, I sit to write, they sit to do homework. Or you tell them, this is an hour for me. And I write. Or you get up and write before they even wake up. I mean, there's many options, but you have to be very intentional, and you have to set the schedule based on the age of your kids, obviously, and what their schedule is like. But I don't try to make it an activity that's separate from them, if that makes sense. My kids are old enough, if I tell them they need to go in their room for an hour, then they'll be fine in their room for an hour. Your kids may not be at that age yet, so you just have to consider those things. Have you been lazy when it comes to finishing a book? Have I been lazy when it comes to finishing a book? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think you have to know what kind of personality that you have. I'm a very deadline, goal-oriented person. So I can't just say, okay, I'm going to write a book. I have to give myself deadlines, and I have to give very specific deadlines. I'm going to have 1 chapter done a week. I'm going to have 10,000 words by this date. I'm going to have the book finished. I mean, I have to be very specific, or it will just carry on. It really will. And this is with anything I do in life. It will just carry on. So yeah, and to me, and for those of you, men, you may not relate to this, but to me, writing a book is like having a baby. It's like you're really, really excited in the beginning, and you take all your classes, and you're doing yoga for pregnant women, and you're shopping, and you're decorating, and you're changing, you're really, really excited. So you do the work. And then when you get to like that 8th month, 9th month, you just kind of want to sit on the couch and do nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it's hard. You have to push through to continue to do the kinds of things, And so that's what it's like. And then you go through that final push, but then you have this beautiful, beautiful baby that you're so super proud of that's going to contribute to the world. And that's what a book is to me. It's like giving birth to a baby. And once you're done, you have this wonderful, wonderful child that is going to make a difference in the universe and a difference in other people's lives. And that's what the book is going to do. So I hope that helps a little bit. We got some other questions about motivation, accountability, outlining, and all of that stuff will be discussed on the Telesummit. And I want to give you some action steps because that's super, super important. That's really important, being able to start now. And so I'm going to give you 4 really quick ones. But we will go into more depth on the Telesummit, I promise. The first thing I would say is start building your platform now. And by that, I mean your social media following. I would start generating content about whatever it is you're going to write. So start a blog, write some really, creative stuff. We'll just take fitness expert for an example. Start giving fitness tips on social media. Start seeding and building an audience around what your book is going to be about. Get people really engaged and interact with them. Ask them questions. Ask them what they need. What is your biggest fitness goal? What is your biggest fitness challenge? What is your biggest question about how to execute a fitness plan? That sort of stuff, and get people really, really excited. The key to building a platform, especially using social media, is remembering that it's social. So it's not just about you saying, buy my book, I'm going to write my book, buy my book, but engage them and give them really valuable content. Now that's very basic and concise. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and that's part of what we'll be talking about, is how you can build a platform. And obviously, the bigger platform, the more engaged people you have, the more books you'll sell and the more lives you'll change. So you definitely want to start, even before you start writing your book, start building your platform. Set a deadline. I talked about that. For me, it's really, really important to set deadlines. And for a lot of me, like if I just can't miss a deadline. I just can't miss a deadline. And I've always been like that. But deadlines, I think, are really, really important. And I think they keep you focused. Be realistic. I mean, you don't want to, you don't want to stress yourself out too much, but you want to definitely put pressure and responsibility. And if you need to find accountability partners, that's one of the reasons that I started the Grow Global group. I hope you've joined, as a part of this, so that you're a part of a community that you can say, hey, my book is going to be done in 2 months. Make sure, check on me, and we'll check on you. Promise. Create an outline. An outline is like a map. I don't know anybody that really just sits down and starts writing. Now, whether it's a mental map or it's a map on paper, you need to create an outline so that you know where you're going to go, and you're not just writing willy-nilly, and you're not staying on course. You want to stay on course. You want to be very, very intentional about where you're going with this book, and an outline helps. And then start looking now for editors. Please, you need to hire a professional editor for your book. So start looking for editors now. I can give you suggestions in Grow Global if you're curious about good editors. But an editor, honestly, can make or break a book. All right? I'm a writer. I'm not an editor. Your English teacher from high school may not be an editor. I don't know your English teacher, so I'm not going to say for sure or not, but just because you know the English language, just because you may know some punctuation and grammar, does not make you an editor, does not make somebody an editor. Just like being a writer, or being able to write is a skill, being able to edit efficiently is a skill. You need a good editor. So start researching them out. And for me, having a good editor is like being in a good relationship. They need to get me, and I need to get them, and they need to get your writing so that they can effectively present that to the world, and professionally present that to the world. You want a polished, finished product, and that takes a good editor. So those are my 4 action steps. Start building your platform now, create a deadline, put together an outline, and start finding you a good editor. It's going to make all the difference in the world. And so I'm going to introduce you to our speakers. I want to tell you so much about them, and I'm going to do that in the next video. So keep watching your email box. I'm super excited. Also, more goodies are coming your way. Okay, so make sure that you are looking and checking your inbox so that you get all that valuable stuff. Until next time, I will see you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm Nikki Woods.